Hey guys, today here we have a three-parter just since I've been very sick recently, so my voice just hasn't been good enough to be able to record videos, and I've just been grinding out EOP and stuff while I've been bedridden, so um that's where I've been at recently for these last three wars. So yeah, we're gonna have War 7, War 8, and War 9 here. So yeah, first up we've got this No 2 Hulkling. Very simple fight. Yeah, I've done this fight a bunch of times. I'm sure you have seen from earlier war videos at this point. The strategy remains the same for this fight every time, since it is just the best strategy for this fight. And yeah, fight is, when you get to the cell 3, you just abuse Mystic Powerbacks, abuse Mystic Dispersion, you're gonna be fine. And yeah. You know, not a super quick one, just because there's a lot of things to keep track of, but a very easy one nonetheless. And yeah. Here is our second L3. Just gonna keep doing our thing, and eventually Hulkling will go down. Not super quick, like I said, but just, works very effortlessly, and, if it ain't broken, don't need to switch it out for something else. And yeah, that fight is now over with this L3, and then next up, I can't actually remember what fight I had next. What did I have next? Oh yes, I have 19 Mojo up next. So this fight is pretty easy. I turn Dex off, I believe. And then, when you turn Dex off, you just use power backs, and it's a normal Doom fight, pretty much. Except Mojo has the weird L3 animation for Doom, that makes it a lot harder to do the actual Doom cycle, so I just use power backs to ease the cycle along instead of bothering with, dealing with the more difficult animation. I just find it a little bit risky. I'm sure I could get comfortable with it over time, but I'm definitely not comfortable with it yet. And yeah. And there's really no issue with just going for a little bit of a slow rotation, but it's no big deal. And yeah, here you can see what I mean, the unique L3 animation. I really hate these unique L3 animations, honestly. I find them kind of obnoxious, especially when it actively interferes with a champ cycle like this. That specifically annoys me, but yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, the Mojo fight basically done at this point. We're gonna knock down with that L1, and then we'll just end the fight out right here. And yeah, next up we have this Aarkus on 22. Originally, we had a Colossus taking this until I was like, Doom can probably take this, asked for a video, and was like, okay, yeah, that's very easy, so I took it. I forgot to turn Dex back on for this one, so you're gonna see that come into play. I remember in the middle of the fight, thankfully, so it didn't actually get, punished for it, but I just, it's a dumb mistake, and, regardless of how easy this fight is, just shouldn't be something that happens. And yeah, we're gonna, play very passively in the Incinerates, just because, Unsteady Ground meets this Incinerate debuff. Although it doesn't do much damage, it doesn't matter. We still want to get the power gains, of course. It's still very important to do that. And yeah, here we just throw this since we're cornered, and I realized at this point that my Dex was off, and I was like, okay, yeah, I gotta get out of the corner. Definitely would not be doing that if I was not. Oh, there is where I realized I have Dex off. Never mind. After I eat that L1, I'm like, I did Dex that, and then, yeah, after I finished the fight, I check, and I had Dex off, and yeah, it happens. Silly mistakes like that shouldn't be happening, but thankfully it's with someone like Doom, where it does not really matter. And yeah, this fight is very easy regardless. And yeah, at this point, the fight is basically just over. And yeah. Next up, I have, Nimrod versus Domino on Intercept. A very quick fight. It's Domino, so it's not very difficult. Yeah, we're just gonna nuke this with Nimrod. Should be, simple enough. It's just Domino with Nimrod again. Nimrod is the perfect counter for Domino. Could be very hard to fuck this up. Yeah. Get our L2, and the L2 just finishes things, of course. And yeah, very easy fight. Next up, we have a Chavez on Intercept, I believe. Yes, a Chavez on Intercept. This was an R3 Chavez. As you can tell by the very low PI, it's normally a pretty easy fight anyway, but, especially given that it was an R3, I was not particularly worried about this fight. And yeah, we're just gonna do our thing, and Chavez will go down relatively smoothly. There's some stuff to watch with her purple phase. It manipulates Doom's power gain and power steal and power backs and everything, so, it's a little bit annoying, and that's the main reason people are generally, hesitant to use Doom for Chavez. I still think he's an amazing counter regardless, just because he's Doom. But it is just something to watch out for and something to know about before going into the fight. Now here we want to bait the L1 so we can do an intercept into the L3 and nuke the rest down. But Chavez decides she's gonna do what Chavez does best, which is throwing 2 random heavies in the air for absolutely no reason. And we're still just trying to bait the L1. Chavez is being Chavez. Finally throws the L1. Here we do this, get our L3 off. And yeah, since Chavez did that, we're not going to get any power back from this L3, really. I believe she's actually going to be reversing our power, which is very unfortunate, because she just decided to randomly throw 2 heavies in the air for no reason, because Chavez is Chavez, and she does that. So yeah, here we want to bait out this so we can get the orange phase. This just makes it so we can block the L2 safely. So it won't be unblockable. And as you can see, we block that L2. We lose a bit of health because chip damage, but, perfectly fine and safe to block it. And yeah, finish out the fight with this L2. Chavez was really annoying, but as you can see, it's still just, pretty easy fight anyway, regardless of how annoying Chavez gets. And then we've got this Mangog, and yeah, this is also pretty easy. Mangog on basically any node except, node 54 or, Hazard Shift is, generally going to be quite easy with Doom. Because, power control in the way that Doom has is very good for Mangog, because your main worry against Mangog is usually him throwing too many L1s. So when you can just always keep him above 2 bars, it makes it a lot easier to control him, and it just means you don't really have to worry about Mangog quite so much, because, you can just block his L2s, and, if you're blocking his L2s, there's really not much danger present. And yeah, that's just the strategy we're going to follow, and we're going to stick with it for the whole fight, and just do our thing with Doom, and it will go down relatively smoothly. And yeah, Doom is just doing his thing, being Doom. Yeah, we get a second L3 there, so we're gonna have a second Fury now. Mangog has weird stuff with his power. That makes it so you can't do the normal Doom cycle, but that's fine anyway. We wouldn't want Mangog throwing his special one, having any chance to do that too much. And yeah, at this point, we're ready to just end the fight. We throw an L2. That's a good chunk of damage. And we managed to get him to not trigger Mighty Charge through some AI manipulation, and thankfully he played along, of course. Not 100% reliable, but it's a nice trick you can use with AI manipulation there, just in that passive throw special play, just small tricks you pick up. And yeah, here is a 48 Sassy. If I remember correctly, this one went super smoothly. And yeah, was very quick, I believe. Unless this was the first time. I don't think this was the first time I took this in season. It's hard to remember. I genuinely don't remember which one this was, but if it was the one I'm thinking of, this went very smoothly. Yeah, this is that one. This was very smooth. I believe I got it down in like a minute and 20 seconds. So, as far as Doom versus Sassy goes, that's rapid quick, especially on the boss island. So, very good takedown of Sassy here. And yeah, here we go for our L3, because, he's at low charges. We know there's no chance for him to activate Wrath and go stun immunes. Normally, I would not throw the L3 when Sassy is at 3 bars and he has like 6 or more charges, just because there's a chance to go stun immune, interrupt the Doom cycle. This time, he was low enough on charges that even with Sassy being at an L3, it was not particularly dangerous. And yeah, as you can see, this fight is just going down so smoothly. And yeah, here we get one final L2 just to seal the deal, and Sassy dies. Very smooth fight, lined up perfectly everything, so, that's nice to see, as always. Went down very easily. And yeah, now for the next door, I have Doom versus this Tigra. Just on Path 6, pretty easy fight. Nothing to really worry about here. It's just a Doom fight, it's pretty standard. There's some prowess, and it's Tigra, so, you have to worry about the normal Tigra stuff. But, Doom is, as far as champs without weakness goes, Doom is probably one of the safest Tigra counters, just since, he just ends it so quickly and doesn't really have to bait specials. That's the real danger with Tigra, is a lot of people will actively bait her special 1, and when you're actively baiting her special 1, she gets really passive and saves for her L2, of course. So if you're able to just, be confident with the L2 decks, or, use a champion that doesn't need to bait specials, whether that go through, pure damage or just power control, that will, in general, just make Tigra a lot easier to fight. And yeah, the fight goes down very smoothly here. Now, in Node 19, we have Doom versus Doom. Yeah, this was pretty easy, if I remember correctly. I just went for the L3 cycle, and, I don't think Doom interrupted it at all. I don't go for the standard Doom cycle, just because I really don't want Doom throwing his L2. It's perfectly fine to block Doom's L2. The danger with Doom vs. Doom is if Doom manages to get an unblockable L2 while you're fighting him, pretty much the only way you can die to him is from that L2 with the Incinerates, or I guess Doom's L3 would probably also kill you. But yeah, that basically just means that we want to, keep him above 2 bars most of the time. Just like the Mangog fight earlier in this video, it's, follows that same basic principle. Of course, Doom doesn't have the weird power manipulation stuff that Mangog does, so it's not quite as complicated to do this, thankfully. But yeah, we're just backing off here a little bit to let the aura run out. Kind of unnecessary, but we're doing our thing. And now we're ready to get into the cycle. And just keep Doom above an L2 for this whole fight, and it will go very smoothly. And yeah. Not much to really say about this fight, other than, outside of, the standard Doom counters that you would expect. I think Doom is probably one of the safest, especially when there's a node that's, makes the normal counters that you would normally see. Your Spider 99s, your torches, your I-bombs, whatever. Just makes them very bad for him, so, on a note like this, Doom versus Doom is a great option. Yeah, as you can see, it's going very smoothly. I believe I just need one more L3 to finish this fight out. Mystic powerbacks are definitely essential for this, keeping the opponent above an L2 strategy. Just always essential if you're doing that. But with using them, it's of course very smooth, and yeah, it goes down pretty much perfectly. Yeah, he's at 6% left, so we just do a couple of combos, and he dies. And yeah, that is done, and then Here is my quote-unquote death. And yeah, it's unfortunate. So, at this point, I was at a 190 streak. And yeah, we end up DCing to this fight. I play completely perfectly, picture perfect. I did all the, disconnect precautions, did everything correct. And, the game just decided that I was going to die to this fight. And not much you can really do about that. I don't have the best of internet, and all that, so, it was bound to happen eventually. I believe this is actually my first ever disconnect in, an alliance war, at least in season. I've definitely had some in off-season, but I've never had one in season before, and, it was bound to happen eventually. But it is really frustrating, the timing, because I was at a 190 streak at this point. And, yeah, I know, it doesn't, I know I can still count the streak and whatever through the DC, but it's just really not the same when you technically lost in attack bonus. Even if I still played perfectly, I didn't actually make any mistakes, it still counts as a death. And, yeah, just before 200, so don't get that big 200 streak, which is really frustrating. And, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. It sucks, but nothing I could have done better, so not much to really do about that, and here the DC happens. When I'm ready to end the fight, I throw my L2, then I just DC. As you can see, I have 5 bars on that Wi-Fi symbol, so it's not like it was a Wi-Fi issue, or a phone issue or anything. It's just, the game is the game. So yeah, here we're doing the fight again. We have to redo this fight, even though I already just killed it completely perfectly, completely flawlessly. I have to go redo this, and I had to heal over that, and I lose my streak, and it's just fucking bullshit. But it is what it is, man. Definitely fucking annoying. Streaks are, definitely one of the only things that really keeps me going with my own fights, just because, I'm kind of at a point where I've had all the big fight seasons, and I don't particularly take interesting fights, so the streaks and deathless seasons and all that is the main thing that keeps me interested. I'm still gonna keep counting until I have, an actual death, just to see where the streak could have been, but that's the loss of the real streak. And yeah, it's frustrating, especially because it is such a complete joke of a fight. This is never a fight that I would pretty much ever die to. It is a very, very easy fight. Definitely not something I would ever die to. And to lose my streak to something like that over at DC is just really frustrating. I'll stop ranting about it after this fight, but yeah. Definitely ruined my vibe this season. Definitely ruined my vibe. Here we end the fight with an 0-3, of course. We end with 100% health, slightly cleaner than the 99% health the other time. Somehow I lose a streak to it, whatever. Fucking bullshit, man. And then, yeah, we have this Quicksilver. Next up, on Intercept with Nick Fury. I forget to turn Dex off for this, which is very stupid. I mean, I forget to turn Dex back on for this, which is very stupid. And then I eat a couple of ones because of it. Just was very frustrated after the one. Yeah, I mean, it happens, but was definitely not happy. And yeah, here I tried to intercept, but I just wasn't feeling confident in it, so I just held block instead. Yeah, the nice thing about these full intercept modes with Nick Fury is that they actually pause the attack charges, so you can keep that going with Quicksilver just that little bit longer. You get that evade counter. And as you can see, it let me just nuke down 60% of the fight already, which is very nice. Here, we're gonna have to get his evade out. And then, here we get our evade counter back from eating that, so it's actually not the end of the world. But yeah, here, we get the evade out, thankfully. And we're just gonna try and end this fight. Unfortunately, he immediately dashes back there, so we can't use the bleeds. And yeah, here we just throw our L3 and the fight's over. Not my cleanest work, but solo is a solo. It's an easy enough fight, so nothing I needed to worry about. And yeah. Next up, I can't remember what was next. Oh right, 48 Annihilus. Okay, this is next up this war. This is mostly to get rid of my Wong pre-fight. Definitely wanted to just have an easy fight to get rid of that Wong cross fight, and this Annihilus is very, very easy. Unlike the Terrax we have next up on 54, which is a pretty difficult fight. It's very simple, but it's just, not a lot of room for error on that Terrax. So yeah, here, we're beating up Annihilus. Just doing our thing. It's fairly simple. Not much to worry about here. Just gonna get to my L3 cycle, spam L3s, do my thing. And yeah. Here, we're ready for our first L3. He has 3 Furies up, so I know I'm gonna get a lot of nullifies going. And yeah. Here, he gets his L3 from this, but I get my L3 as well, and I tap the L3 first. If he did throw his L3, it would not matter in the slightest, because Doom can easily tank that L3. So this is a completely safe strat, just since, you may eat an L3 doing this, since it is technically risky, but since Doom is Doom, it's extremely safe. Anyway, and yeah, the fight's over. And yeah, next up we have a Terrax on 54. The main reason Terrax is placed here, I believe, is just because Aspect of Evolution means that you're not really going to be getting crits. And why this matters is because, normally the two champs that you really want to be using against Terrax right now are, Colossus and Doom. And both of those champs, for fighting Terrax, definitely want to be critting on their L2s to get more power from power backs. And that's the reason this is placed. It's a decent placement. It's definitely, not a super complicated fight. It's just a generically hard fight. And, those generically hard fights, they get kills sometimes. So, solid placement. And yeah, our plan is to just parry heavy in L3. Parry heavy to give Terrax less power for AoE. Thankfully, the unsteady ground actually makes this fight easier, in my opinion, just because it gives a little bit of willpower healing. Helps keep you, not so dangerously close to death. And yeah, we're in the corner here. Not a great position to be in, but it's, perfectly fine. It's just, of course, a little bit of an annoying position to be in. And yeah, here we get another L2 off. As you can see, we're rotating these L2s pretty smoothly. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely winning the health race. It's just we're also losing a lot of health. So again, not much room for error here, but it's still perfectly fine. And yeah, we're just using Doom, doing Doom things. Yeah. Here we get our L3. I actually did not want to go to my L3. It was a bit of a miscalculation because the L3 just does less damage per bar than the L2 does. And yeah, that is a little bit unfortunate to go to the L3, but it is perfectly fine. The nice thing about the L3 is we do get our spacing back, which can help. It didn't end up mattering in this fight, since I go for this passive corner play. That's just the strat I generally go for against Terrax with Doom. So, it was nice to get the L3, but it just, not what I was really planning for. Not really the strategy I had in mind, so it was just a little bit annoying. And here we missed the heavy counter again. Thankfully, I used that invuln, so yeah. And now we end the fight. Yeah. And here for War 9, For this war, I have, Doom, Nimrod again. And yeah, first up we have this Havok on Note 11 with Nimrod, of course. Very easy fight, just requires a lot of patience with, waiting out the heavy hitter from these parries. And just taking your opportunities to get damage in when you can. Nimrod's damage is, of course, very large, so like, playing patiently is not at all risking a timeout. It may look like it here, because we're not, doing anything yet. But, when we get going, of course, the fight will be very easy. And yeah, you're gonna see that right here. That 1L2 just pretty much ended the fight already. We're using the Unstoppable for some intercept opportunities, and now he's at 2% left, and we can just go ahead and end the fight. And yeah, pretty quick fight. Next up, Chavez, Node 19. Don't have the lag spree fight here, so it's not as easy as it would normally be. And aggression prowess means there is some danger with her L2. But I can just play calm, play smart with Chavez's phases. If I can do that, I can win this fight. I just need to, be patient. That's really the thing with Chavez that helps a lot, is just patience. She really is a champ that forces you to be very, very patient, and it is really obnoxious. As you can see here, she's just doing her thing. It's really not how you want the fight to be going, but it is what you have to deal with to fight Chavez safely, Here, we're gonna do this, and, it puts us in a position where if she throws her L2, we can block it. If she doesn't throw her L2, we can go on to our L3, like we do here. And at that point, we're ready to just, get this fight going. Don't have to, wait anything out. She doesn't have her purple phase at all anymore, so that's a very good position to be in. Yeah. Here, we punish the orange again, so we don't get any of the power manipulation. We have our 2 Fury L2. We have the Ebb and Flow Fury, so this is gonna do a lot of damage. And yeah, Chavez, she was going down smoothly. Very smoothly, very decent fights. Yeah. Chavez has a lot of energy resist, so it's not necessarily the quickest matchup for them. But I would definitely say it's a pretty easy matchup for them. At the very least. Here we go for an L2. Probably shouldn't have done this, but I figured, just knock down that Ebb and Flow. Let us start getting some damage in while we have 2 Furies would be a good idea. In hindsight, probably slowed the fight down anyway, but is perfectly fine. And yeah, we're getting ready to just end this fight. Just need to get in one more combo, and Chavez will be down. And yeah, next up, what did I have next? Okay, we had a Killmonger on 25, I remember now. And this Killmonger is a very simple fight with Doom. It's, again, just, a game of patience. I really don't love the patient Doom fights. They're definitely not my style of fights, but they're, easy nonetheless. We pop a Petrify here. Just didn't need to Petrify anywhere else. And yeah, we're gonna, do this fight. It should be a pretty easy fight. Basically no actual danger in this fight. It's just, a matter of my own patience in the fight, and yeah. We want a Dex before L3, so we can get the Fury after putting Power Snack on cooldown, and that is, I guess, the trick to this fight. And yeah. Here, we have the Dex, but we did not Dex before, but we did it while Power Snack was already on cooldown, so we just tap a light into him, and then we go into our L3. The L3 will trigger a Power Sting. I think it's bugged where the L3s just automatically eat the Power Sting that they push above for the bar, because the other specials don't do it like that. Like the specials 2s and stuff, they don't give the Power Sting from that. Like, you're gonna see here, actually, I think. Oh, no, you didn't. Not there. But yeah, if you push, like, mid-special 1 or special 2, whatever, it doesn't give the Power Sting damage, but if you do it with the special 3, it does, so it's Definitely a bug, but it's just, doesn't really matter, just some health loss. And yeah, here we have this kitty with Nimrod. Very easy fight again, of course. Nimrod is the perfect kitty counter. And yeah, this fight will end very, very quickly. Very, very easily. It's not a particularly difficult fight. Just get to your L2, end the fight, and that is it. Yeah, here, we're going to bait an L2. She doesn't really want to play in. She's just dancing around, doing her thing. Thankfully, she finally throws it. And then we go for an intercept, get our L2 off, and the fight is over. And yeah. Pretty easy time there. Definitely not too difficult. And yeah, next up we have a Node 37 Rintrah. This fight is, pretty slow with Doom, but again, just a very easy fight. You just intercept, do heavies, do L2s, and that's it, Not a lot of complications to this fight, it's just not particularly quick, and yeah, it's just doing your thing well. You play around Nimrod's abilities, and yeah. We do have armor breaks from the Mr. Fantastic synergy. That's not particularly matter. It gives Rintrah a little bit of an extra attack, but, we're tanky enough that I'm not particularly worried against, Rintrah getting a slight bit of extra attack boost. It's not at the top of my worries. Yeah. It's going by, just not very quickly. Oh, I just went completely silent, sorry. Yeah, this fight, not much to it. You can tell from my boredom during this commentary. Really not a fight that I think there's any strategy to or anything interesting to say. It's just do your thing with Doom, and Doom is a god, so he solos everything. Oh, yeah. So it should just be one more L2, and then it'll be over. Yeah, the next two fights we have are very slow as well. Doom versus Doom follows basically the same strat as the Node 19 Doom. Not a particularly interesting fight. Only difference here is that there's no aggression prowess. So it's, even less dangerous, but this node does have more health and more attack, so it is a little bit of a longer fight. And, it's always harder to intercept than it is to get knockdowns, so there is that as well. Doom is weird AI here. He's, that's just Doom doing Doom things. He always has that kind of AI. Here we get a nice stand-up intercept. Definitely was happy with that one. Completely unnecessary. And yeah, we're doing a bunch of L1 spam here. Not entirely necessary. Not really sure why I was doing it. It just kind of felt right. So we went with it. Here, unfortunately, he throws this L2. I was hoping he would just hit into me so I could go into my L3 cycle. Not how it ended up happening, but it's perfectly fine anyway. We can work with it and just do our thing now. We get an intercept off, thankfully, so we're gonna do a bunch of damage. Oh yeah, this fight will be very easy. Yeah. We get an L2 off here. Oh wait, no. We get an L2 off here. Yeah. This is the difference between this and the other. Since this node does not have protection, since this node doesn't have the debuff immunity thing on knockdown, you can go for L2s to try and make it a little bit quicker. Whether or not it's worth it is debatable. I'm not sure if it actually made this fight quicker, but it just feels good to do, so. Yeah. This fight is just about over at this point. Just gotta get another L3 going, and we'll be good to go. And yeah, there we have it. Got L3 ready to just end this fight. And yeah, bye-bye to Doom. Yeah, here we get an L2 off, and not sure if the L2s are actually quicker, but at this point, of course, you should throw it, because it's just gonna end the fight. And yeah, next up, we have an Angela on 50. Basically, just want to keep throwing a bunch of heavies and L2s here to try and keep control of the buffs, so she's not reducing the incinerate duration, and so she's not unblockable the whole time. It's, again, a fairly simple fight, as always with Doom. His fights are never particularly interesting. Well, not never, but, not usually particularly interesting fights. And just very safe, because he's Doom. Yeah, we're doing our thing. Gonna get our L2s off. And yeah. This first one, she has 2 buffs up for, so the Incinerates get shrugged very fast, unfortunately. Still get her down to 20%. Still get 20% down, so, we're not worried at all about timing out at this point. We've just, trying to make it as quick as it can be, because definitely don't want to be in this fight for too long. Alright, we start getting pretty quickly here. And then she starts going on a cycle of glancing me a bunch, which is unfortunate. Dexing back here was dumb and let her throw that special. So this one is on me. The other one was just unfortunate with the cycling. Yeah. Still, just no worries of timing out here because, we have 4 minutes to get down to 40% health. So that's very easy, of course. And here we're just nullifying all these buffs, just to be like, okay, I'll just let my L3s do, I'll just let my L2's incinerates actually stick. And yeah, here, all those buffs get nullified. And she doesn't end up triggering a regen buff until after my L2, which is nice. It does interact with some of the incinerates, but didn't harper the full duration, so I'll take it. And the glancing is back to being a problem. No big deal, we're just building up to another L2 to end the fight, is what it is. And yeah, getting this fight down. And yeah, that's all for these 3 wars. Shout out to my Patreon supporters, Mega, Senior Dunny, and OG Highline.